welcome to a brand new episode of the Uncovering Greatness podcast. I am your co-host, Suleiman Steele. It is a brand new month. We are in the month of March, which means we have a new topic. But before we get to that, we are joined by Barry Mitchell, which seems like he's here at the start of every month, which is actually quite cool.
How's it today? About getting you. Like very, very, very good. I can't believe that it's already blinking March.
Crazy.
2 months gone. For us, it's the start of our new financial year. For many of our clients, it's the start of their new financial year. For other clients, they're halfway through their financial year. So, yeah, just moving on, getting into another month.
Yes, indeed. And for those of you who don't know, this is your first time ever seen the Uncovering Greatness podcast, the Uncovering Greatness podcast is a weekly podcast that we do where we talk everything from business to entrepreneurship to mindset to business development, and sometimes we just talk about what's happening in the world.
And we talk about money.
We talk about money as well, money and finance and all those awesome things. And this month's topic is simple. It's simple, not easy. What do you think of that topic? Let me jump into that. Oh, first.
That is probably my favorite topic.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone that's spent any time with me in a room, I think there's one flip chart that you often see me talk about is, and I talk about it in all areas of life, is that most people want it to be easy. They're focused on getting the easy way out, and it's not easy. Success is never easy. Building a business is not easy. Making money is not easy. Getting fit is not easy. Achieving your goals is not easy. It's damn hard. But when you follow specific principles, it can be very simple.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people miss that, is that they want the easy and they confuse simple with easy. Because it's simple, it doesn't mean it's easy. I'll give you an example. I decided on the 28th of December, I wanted to get my whole health back in check. I wanted to get it back to where it was at the beginning of last year for a number of reasons. And one of the decisions I made is that I was going to manage really what I put in my body in terms of food, but also in terms of drink.
Yeah.
What's the simplest thing I could manage? Water. So I made a decision that for 90 days I just drink water. I drink water, and 2 or 3 times a week, the odd, when I mean odd, 3 or 4 glasses of fresh and squeezed juice, but water. Now let me explain how simple that is. When I go out for lunch and someone says, what do you want to drink? I don't create a whole lot of options in my mind. I've already kept it simple to water. When I sit in a meeting, it's water.
Yeah.
When I get up in the morning, it's water. So yes, it may be boring, but what I can tell you, it really simplifies my decision making based on what I want to achieve. Now, is that easy? Not at all. Because you sit down for lunch, someone says, do you want a glass of wine? So I have beer. Do you want whatever it might be? And you're always faced with the challenges, and then you have to discipline yourself that the only thing I drink is water.
Yeah.
So if that sets the context a little bit on this topic of simple, not easy.
No, it definitely does. And I mean, like you're saying, if you, like the like drinking water and you go to lunch, I mean, how important is it then when having the right people that you're sitting with? I mean, you do things like that, right? Because somebody else could be like, oh, come on, just have a glass of wine with me. I'm having a glass. You should have a glass as well.
That happens. I've just come back from Namibia. One of my biggest clients. I often share a glass of wine with him when we travel in the evening. And on this last trip, he's like, "Come on, dude, have a glass of wine." I'm like, "I'm on water." And once he saw that was my commitment and that's what I was on, then it stopped. So it's less for the people around you who support you. It's more for the people around you who don't support you.
You can explain that.
Well, when you have people around you that are in support of your goals, they're not going to push you to change what you've decided to do.
Yeah.
When you have people around you that don't actually care about your goals and only care about themselves, their focus is getting done what they need to be done, not what you need to be done.
Yeah.
So it's like sales reps at work, for example. if you have a couple of sales reps in a team and the one sales rep decides that they really want to up their game, they're going to make more calls than anyone else, da 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 da. Well, if the other sales reps are slackers, what do you think they're going to support that sales rep that really wants to change the game? No, because if that sales rep suddenly makes double the amount of calls anyone else is making, he or she's going to show them up. So when you make a clear decision and you keep it really simple, it makes it a lot easier to manage it against that type of, if you want, heat and pressure coming from the outside.
Yeah. I mean, it's about, you brought up sales reps, and on our LinkedIn page, I'll get very good this on LinkedIn. You run in 2 surveys at the moment. And so far we've seen, so I'll start at the one which actually has the highest. 75% of entrepreneurial business owners aren't selling enough for themselves. Why do you think that is in terms of this concept, the topic of simple monies?
Well, I think we complicate.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, I think over 30 years in sales and nearly 20 years teaching entrepreneurs, business owners and sales teams, one, how to sell, people complicate. The sales process is very simple. If you come to my sales explosion program, we teach a 6-step sales process. 6 steps, not 16, not 600, 6. It's 6 steps. And those 6 steps are very, very simple. Find customers, approach and contact, pitch and present, take them from a no to a yes, close the deal, follow up.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay? Now, what happens is people complicate it. Where do we get complicated? We get complicated in our mind. Because you go out to start doing things and things don't start working like you expected them or hoped them to do or needed them to. So we start adding a whole lot of stuff to it. So I think one of the biggest reasons that I see in businesses with entrepreneurs as well as within their teams, one, their processes are not clear and not simple.
Okay.
So they have a lot of ideas on what they need to do, but their processes aren't simple.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are very clear that those are the 6 steps I do, when do you do them? How often do you do them? And how many times do you do them? So, when we sit down and design a funnel, and we're about this week we'll be doing that specifically for a target market that we're focused on.
Yeah.
We talked about it in our meeting this morning, and that was my message to the team. Guys, we need to spend an hour. We're going to sit down and we're going to simplify what we're going to do. We're going to build an action plan, and then for the next 90 days we're going to deliver on that action plan.
Yeah.
So people don't do that. What they do is they look at the results, and then they get so into the results, and then they have a whole lot of ideas on we can do this, we can do that, and then everything gets thrown into the mix, and now it becomes complicated. And then when it becomes complicated, you can't focus on any one particular thing.
Okay.
How do you create focus? You create clarity first.
Yeah.
How do you create clarity? Identify a very simple process. Once you identify a very simple process, you're clear on what you need to deliver. Once you're clear on what you need to deliver, then you can go through it and be very focused on the things that you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I see it time and time and time again, is people get lost in doing so many frigging things, rather than actually the thing that needs to be done to move them to the next step.
Yeah, it's not, like you're saying, it's not the result, it's the next step.
Yeah.
Right? And so for me, I was thinking about that survey at 75%. What? As an entrepreneur, business owner, so you saying it's simple, right? So you gave the example of we have a 6-step sales cycle. And I've heard you say this a few times as well. If you don't like that, go and find another sales cycle.
100%.
But work it.
But follow that.
Yeah.
Whatever you decide to do,
Yeah.
do it. But that's where complications come in, because people will start doing something that they wanted to learn from someone, and then it's not working, and then they decide that they're going to find something else, and then they go into Google or wherever they're going to go, or they go to another seminar, and then they take that one person's stuff, and then they decide they're going to try that, and then that doesn't work because they're measuring too soon, and their expectations are too high, and they haven't learned the lessons they need to learn. So now then they're trying to compare the one against the other that's not working. So guess what they'll do is they'll do a hybrid mix of the whole lot, and it just becomes a mess instead of going, okay, I think a great example I can give you of the first time last year with the first World Indoor Rowing Championships that I rowed in. I went on Google to start off with, and I found some rowing plans that I could follow. and I looked at them, and I was a little bit uncertain which one I should follow. And then I found a coach, and I sat down with him, and he gave me a plan. I never went back to Google. I never questioned it. I didn't do anything. I sat with him, and I followed that plan for 12 weeks because that was my commitment. It made it very simple for me. It was damn friggin' hard. It was damn hard. Following that plan was damn hard. Doing some of the workouts that I had to do that I didn't want to do was damn hard. Some of the results didn't come like I expected to them, but I had to have faith and trust that if I just kept following his process, I would get there. And I did. I took 25 seconds off my time in the space of 12 weeks. Now, if you know anything about that, that's over 2,000 meters. That's over 7 minutes. I took 25 seconds off 7 minutes. It's a pretty big percentage.
Yep.
So, but I followed the process. I didn't complicate it. He told me what I had to do. I did it. I didn't argue. I didn't go look for advice from a whole lot of other people. I didn't question it when it was getting tough. I didn't question it when I wasn't getting the results as quick as I had expected. I stuck to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think that's what people do is when it's not working out the way that they expected or that they wanted, then they'll jump.
I mean, that's a tricky one, right? Because like you say, you were not in 12 weeks. You weren't going, okay, I want to cut off 25 seconds. That was that the expectation? Or
Yeah.
was it?
So my expectation was to cut off 22 seconds.
Okay.
So yeah. So we have a target in mind. So that's the other thing is I was very clear on the target.
Yeah.
And when I sat down with him and I said, "This is the target I want. Do you think it's achievable?" He said, "Yes." And then he said to me, "How many days a week can you row?" And I said, "That's not the question you should be asking. The question you should be asking is if I give you a program where you follow it.
Yeah.
Because you're the one with the experience, so you're the one that knows how much I need to row in order to get from where I am." And he said, "Great." So he said, "Can you row 6 days a week?" I said, "Yes. If that's what I have to do in order to do that, does it make sense?" And I followed the process. What I see with people is a lot of times the complexity comes in because they don't want to do it, or they know better, or they've heard from someone else, or Auntie Google told them that this works. Okay, go do that.
Yeah.
But then stick to that. But they can't because they're not clear in their mind of how committed they are to get what they want.
Yeah. So I mean, you've now, I want to say about, what's it been like? It's almost 10 months, I would say. Could be longer. You've been traveling, you've been working in Namibia, Zim, different clients, different industries.
Yes.
But you kind of go in there with pretty much the same simple process, right? Simple process of serving free. We're going to start, this is a hypothetical, but
Yeah, so if I go into a client and the area that we're working on is sales,
yeah.
well, I'll teach them the art of selling. And it's pretty much based on a process that I've been using for 30 years, effectively, based on a process that I refined when I did a lot of work with Blair Singer and modeled his process. And it works.
Yeah.
So when I go, the difference comes in is the challenges that they face, but the process is still the same.
For sure.
You know, whether you're selling water or you're selling, I don't know, microphones,
Yeah.
still the same.
Same
You
process.
still have to find customers. You still have to approach and contact them. There are different ways to approach and contact. So you can approach and contact on the phone. You can approach and contact via LinkedIn. You can approach it. There are different ways to approach and contact. But the step is approach and contact.
Yeah.
Then decide how you're going to approach and contact. Then measure the approach and contact. Because if you are approaching and contact using 7 different methods, what are you going to measure? So get clarity within that process. Keep it really simple. And then when you go down to, okay, I'm going to approach and contact via email, good. How many emails are you going to send? When are you going to send emails? Because if that gets too complicated and you're not clear on what that is, well, what do you measure? And then, that, as that old saying goes, if you can't measure something, you can't change it.
Yeah. And would you say that you, like, for something like that, you got to keep your measurements simple, right? So,
Yeah.
Because it's whatever it is you've decided. So you say let's just say you're going to do an email, you're being emailed. How many of those emails are you sending? So
Yeah.
and actually track it.
So you decide, how many am I going to send?
Yeah.
And track it. And what time do I send it? Because if you want to track what the best time is, when's the best open rate, and you send one at 10 o'clock, one at 11, one at 3,
You know,
well, so now you go, right, I send I'd send 3 emails a day, one at 10, one at 12, one at 3. Okay, good. Now you can measure, but you do that every single day. And then you go to Google and it says, once you've done it after a week and you haven't got the results, and you read someone's article that says, I found that if you send an email at 2 o'clock, it's a bit. So guess what people do? They suddenly change. Now they create complications because they're changing not because the process or the system is not working because it's too soon to measure, because they're not getting what they were hoping for. And suddenly they're hoping that they're going to get this miracle result, and they read something, so they're going to change it. And invariably, it doesn't work immediately either. So with any business I go into, whether we're teaching sales, whether we're teaching people development, whether we're teaching structures, it's what's the simple process that you have to follow in order to get there, and what are the skills that allow you to follow that process. Now stick to it. And if you stick to it, you can measure it and you can tweak and change it. But the complexity, people complicate it. Why? Little voices, emotions, all the other stuff that comes in. You know?
So something that Jen said earlier, I've heard you say it a few times, this is more for people who haven't heard it. You said 90 days. Why 90 days? To do a process and measure it.
Well, I think, I've read a number of studies around this. One of the studies, and if I remember right, one of the books that I love comes out of a book called Atomic Habits. And in Atomic Habits, he talks about habits being 90 days is a measure of time that most people can manage to focus on. Okay, so that's one with people. You focus on 90 days. Two, I've been in business for a long time. 90 days is a quarter. So I run it quarterly. In our business, in my business, in my clients' businesses, we run quarterly. Quarterly is 90 days. You achieve things in 90 days. In a wonderful book called Traction, that entrepreneurial operating system, an area that I do a lot of work on, and many of my clients have taken up that approach. Gino Wickman talks about 90 days. Every 90 days, what are your 90-day rocks? What are your 90-day deliverables? 90 days, so, and that's quarter. So you go from 90 days to 90 days to 90 days to the end of the year. Right. So it's a manageable chunk. So I don't know. I've worked in that. I work in 90 days because I know that if I'm saying I'm going to drink water for the next 12 months, shit, that's a long time. But I can manage it for 90 days. So like some people have said to me, what are you going to do after 90 days? I said, I haven't figured that one out yet. Because right now, I'm 2/3 of the way through my 90-day cycle. Yeah. So at the end of March, I hit the end of 90 days. In the next couple of weeks, I'll start thinking, okay, what do I want to do? So I love coffee. I haven't drunk coffee for the last 65 days or whatever it is. Yeah. So people are saying, well, are you going to drink coffee after 90 days? So I haven't decided yet. I'll see where I'm at in terms of my 12-month goal that I want to achieve. And depending where I'm at, I'll decide, depending on how I feel. So I can't do that. So in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'll start making that decision so that when I get to the end of the 90 days, I already have a plan for the next 90 days. Yeah. But it's going to be just as simple.
And I mean, that's the thing, is that even, it may sound like a weird question, but is it even necessary you haven't hit the 90 days yet, right? So I'm asking this because I think that this is where most people will have their stumbling block. I'm already trying to think about what I'm going to do in the next 90 days. Yeah, I haven't even finished the first 90 yet.
So I think forethinking is very important. Think about what's going to come next. Yeah. But make sure that you deliver on what you're doing now. So it's like in sales. Stop worrying about what's going to come in the next quarter when you're not making your calls for this quarter. Make your freaking calls for this quarter. Deliver on the plan for this quarter. Do the things that you said you were going to do for this quarter. Then review where you're at. And once you review what you've done, then you can make a decision on what are you going to do next. What's worked, what didn't work, what do you need to tweak, what do you need to change. But just keep it simple. One of the things that in the years that I've followed Robert Kiyosaki, and particularly in the years that I was blessed to work with him and learn from him and teach around him, is his ability to keep things very simple. Yeah, very simple. I had a person that said to me, Yes, but your Rich Dad Poor Dad is just such a simple book. I said, that's why it's so powerful. And then they looked at me because, how many people can sprout off so much freaking information, but they can't use it. Whereas you got to the cash flow quadrant, you got to Rich Dad Poor Dad. What are the 6 most important words that you need to create wealth? Income, expenses, assets, liabilities, and cash flow. Where does your money come in from? Where does your money go out in terms of expenses? What liabilities are you creating, and are you building assets? And are those assets creating positive cash flow? Yes or no? If you can answer those questions, you really learn that is the core fundamental. Is it the understanding of that is very simple.
Yeah.
Robert is super about it, but it is very deep.
Well, if you go,
because you go breaking it down. But if you don't understand that core model, well, how are you going to understand, reading the financial almanac?
Yeah. I mean, would you say, for me, it seems like people want things more complicated versus having it simply, right? Because, like you're saying, the cash flow quadrant is pretty simple to understand.
Well, I don't know. You'll baffle people with bullshit. The more the bigger the words you say, and the more you can spin stuff, people think you're smart.
Yeah.
Well, you can still be smart and stupid.
Yeah, I mean, look, you spoke about it at this past circle in terms of to what information in school, and that it's not really. Because actually not applied knowledge. There's a lot of smart people now who just graduated or matriculated or whatever it is that they did.
Yeah.
The majority of them are still looking for work. They're super smart.
They're well informed.
Well informed.
Very well informed.
Incredibly well informed.
And then what?
Yeah.
Now you got to apply.
Which is simple to apply, right?
Well, it could be. Go get a job and start applying what you learned.
Yeah.
It's a common sales explosion. I'm going to teach you all those skills. We'll teach you how to sell in the room. But once you leave there, you've got to go apply it.
Yeah.
So what do? You take the 6-step sales process, you stick it up on your wall, you start at the beginning, and you make a list. Okay. That's not hard.
Yeah. No,
you make a list. Make a list of 100 people who you think would buy your product. Now, where do people complicate it? Well, what happens if they're not right? What happens about this? Just keep it really simple. Make a list of 100 people who you think. Okay, then approach and contact. How do you approach and contact? Pick up the friggin' phone. Phone all of those 100 people. Guess what? Once you find those 100 people, you're going to realize whether it was right or wrong, and you're going to learn, and you're going to start developing your target market. But people won't do that.
That's actually such a simple way to figure out your target audience instead of sitting on Facebook and trying to help Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever it is, whatever platform. And I'm heavily in social media, but I feel like this process is way simpler for you to understand who your target market is, because you can do it right now. In 2 days, you can make 100 calls.
100%.
And you can now go, okay, I made 100 calls and there's 2 people who are actually going to buy. Now you know that 98 people, that's not your target audience.
So what you do, you go back and you say, who are those 2 people? Where do they come from? Okay, now that's very early on, so you've got more learning to do.
Yeah.
What are those 98 people? What did I say to those 98 people that I could have said differently? And you tweak it again, and guess what? Next week you do it again.
Yeah.
You do it again. You may even phone some of those 98 people, but you make another list of 100. You know, that's 67%, or I think you said 67% of entrepreneurs in a survey said they don't sell well enough. Well, start with something like that.
Yeah.
Hey, how do you find that out? Who are your current customers? Sit down and say, who are my current customers? Who in the market are people like them? And make a list. And then go up to that list. But so what people will do, is where we get to the simple, not easy, is that people will create, will make it so damn hard because they will complicate it. And then what happens is, you know what? It's not easy because you made that list of 100, now you better phone them, and your little voice is going to come up, and the fears are going to come up, and all that sort of stuff. So guess what? It's much easier to spend the next 2 weeks really identifying my target market really well. You know what? But by the time you got to the end of the 2 weeks and you've really identified your target market, some twat is going to walk in and tell you, but I disagree with you. Really? So you're going to spend another 2 weeks.
Whole thing shattered.
And at the end of the month, you're still friggin' broke, but you got to
kill it.
Just keep it simple. Make a list, phone people, find out, move from there. Make another list, phone people, find out, move from there. within doing that cycle 3 or 4 times, you'll have a fairly good idea of who's buying and who's not buying, and you move from there. And then you keep going. Very simple. Just not easy. It's also, there's another saying that comes into the simple, not easy. It's called, it's simple, not obvious. So because people complicate it, they miss the key things that are obvious. So when your brain is so cluttered and you're thinking of too many things and you're trying to do you miss the obvious. Yeah. So when you simplify it,
and I mean, what you actually said there spot on, because it just reminded me of something somebody was speaking about at Circle, and you asked such a simple question, because she said she's made a list, she's been calling them, and it just hasn't been working. And you asked her one question, and you asked her, have you been asking them questions? And she said no. It's obvious, right? It's simple, it's not obvious. The obvious thing that she missed, from my perspective and where I was sitting, I was like, oh damn, she just didn't ask them enough. Not even enough. She didn't ask them any questions. It just came out of it was, here's my product, this is what I do, buy it.
And she got no. So for her, she did great. Yeah, she did the simple thing. It was simple. Not easy to have phone calls. She made over 50 phone calls. So what's not obvious is asking questions. Why would it be obvious? She doesn't know. But if she didn't make the 50 phone calls, I couldn't have helped her. No. Now that she made the 50 phone calls, I could ask her that question. She goes, no, I didn't ask questions. Great. What would happen if you ask questions? Da 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 da. Now the deal is, make the 50 phone calls, go ask questions instead of telling them. Next time I see her, I can ask her a question. How did that go? And then we'll see. And then I'll ask her, what questions are you asking? Does it make sense? Yeah. Then you can get better.
Yeah. So now you start to refine your process. It's called the 6-step sales cycle. 100%. Approaching the contact. You are just refining how you do it. You're getting better at it. Yeah. Versus not knowing. So she was not there. And that's also such a beautiful thing about being a part of Circle, like, or being in rooms, like you're also speaking about it. You could do stuff on Zoom all day long, but it's just not the same as being in a physical room with people.
Yeah.
That's also such a simple thing that I think people miss. Because like if she wasn't in that room and then we were on Zoom doing Circle of Influence, she wasn't going to ask that question.
100%.
Because it wasn't the context. Even though the context is the same, it's super different.
Well, the context is the same. Context is different. Yeah. So yeah, and I think I see that over and over again. That's what people miss. It becomes way too complicated, and when it becomes too complicated, people can't keep pushing through. I go back to my water example. It's 90 days. I'm just drinking water. So it's very. There's no ways that I could say, well, I couldn't find water. I couldn't fill up my bottle cup, man. Yeah, because I had one choice: get up in the morning, fill up your bottle. Yeah, find water, drink water. Does it make sense to me? So I've taken the complexity out of it. Now what I focus on is drinking water. That's it. So it's like the salesperson. What do? The only thing I have to do is draw up a list. Well, draw up a list. Don't get lost in, well, what happens if I draw up the wrong list, or what happens? Draw up the list. Because once you've got the list, you can move to the next thing. You see, so, and that I go back to the hard part. What really makes it hard is when we start applying it, the emotions that come up, the fears, the little voices, all those type of things. And that's why keep it, the more simple you can keep it, the more focused you can become. The more focused you can become. And the simpler it is to be able to do what you said you're going to do. Not easy. And I think, why I love this topic so much is because I think we're in a world that people think everything just comes so easy. Well, it comes so easy. Well, instant gratification world. Building businesses and making money does not come easy. It doesn't come easy. And anyone that's had a business for longer than, 6-12 months, that's one of the reasons why, like for me, our target market is business owners that have been in business for a number of years. Why? Because they have no illusions that business is easy anymore. You know, people that often start out, and yes, you must. It's not having the expectation, but they haven't had the experience yet to understand the pain of some of the stuff that's going to happen. So, and then, you know, and what's the pain? The pain's emotional stuff. The pain's stuff that didn't work and that I expected to work, and all those type of things. And then you can simplify it.
Yeah, and you know, with what you're saying, and I think that this also applies so much to the young people now, people who want to become streamers or podcasters or influencers online. It looks easy, but if you actually go and talk to a lot of these people, they've been through years of doing this. Guys have been uploading hundreds and thousands of videos
100%.
with nobody watching and nobody cared about what you were saying. It took it like exactly like you're saying, and I think I had to.
I went to a seminar, got the 7 steps, and in 2 weeks I became a YouTube hit.
Yeah, I'd also have to just add this in, but you guys will get it when it comes out. But like your new book, the way that you're setting that up is in terms of you got to be tough to run a business. You got to be tough to be an entrepreneur, and I think that that's something that people don't seem to understand. We live in this exactly like you say, instant gratification. I'm going to open up a Facebook page for my business, and the whole world's going to buy it.
And then when they don't,
Then I'm going to open up another business.
and then when they don't,
And I'm going to keep doing this until
you know,
I hope something works.
one of the very first seminar I went to in Phoenix, with Robert Kiyosaki, and I remember this 17, 18 years ago. Robert Kiyosaki said this: "It takes guts to be an entrepreneur. It takes guts. It takes guts to run a business because you got to be tough.
Yeah.
And part of managing that toughness is creating simplicity."
True. Hey, yeah. If you don't have some of those things in place, it's you just gotta make it tougher for yourself.
Yeah.
And because it's already a tough space to be in.
You know, we talked about it in our meeting this morning.
Yep.
You know, we were talking about to-dos and all those type of things. And what was our advice in the meeting? Be really clear on one of the key things you have to deliver on every week. Set aside the time, same place to get those things done. They're done. What happens is the complexity comes in is when we negotiate. Should I do it today, tomorrow? I mean, the example was very simple. Makeda runs Circle.
Yeah.
And you and Makeda set up all the stuff that we need for Circle. And Circle happens every Thursday morning.
Yep.
Well, now we're in new offices. The location that we were packing from before is very different to the location we're packing on now. So it was a question of when are you going to pack?
Yeah.
So don't complicate it. You know, what was the advice? Keep it simple. If you're gonna set up, if you're gonna pack on a Wednesday, pack on a Wednesday. Drop it off at the venue on a Wednesday night, so you're ready for setup. Yeah. If you're gonna pack on a Thursday, we'll get out of bed at 6 o'clock. Be at our offices at 7. Pack, but whatever it is, don't leave it so that you have too many options, because what happens? You're tired on a Wednesday and you go, well, I don't really feel like packing now, so I'll come in tomorrow. And then you come in tomorrow and you leave your keys behind, and it's cuck. So now now it's damn difficult. When we created that, you created it because why? Because you just didn't keep it simple. You didn't keep the process simple, and you didn't have the discipline just to alter the process. And that's it.
Yeah, I think that's actually such a super example. It's simple, and like it's sometimes for me it's one of those things where it's like it's so simple that it's stupid. And I say
it's so simple. It's not easy, obvious.
I thought obvious, and you're like,
you see where that comes in?
Yeah,
so simple. It's not obvious.
Yeah,
until you get it, and then you go, oh shit, that's so obvious.
Exactly, because I was even like in the lunch, you just pack up on Friday, we pack up on Wednesday, we drop it off. Thursday we arrive, we just set up. That would be it simple. Like, all right. So I always like to ask you a world question, what's going on in the world type of thing before we wrap up the podcast. Elections are coming up in South Africa.
I'm just presuming I actually know anything.
It's not even actually, I don't even have to presume that. This is not even, yeah. So elections are coming up in South Africa.
Yeah.
If you were a politician, what would be your simple message that you'd be betting on?
Well, so that's a very easy question to answer. I'd never be a freaking politician.
There you have it.
if I was a politician, what would be my message? Yeah, but see, again, it depends on, it all comes back, it depends on what do you want to achieve and who do you want to achieve it for. Are you doing, what's your game? Is it to achieve for you, or is it to achieve for the greater good of the greater number of people? In my world, very simple, achieve for the greater good of the greater number of people. I don't believe that's what most people are doing in the world today. I believe most people are self-focused. Most leaders are self-focused. And that's not only in politics, that's in businesses as well. You know, a lot of businesses are profits before people. And don't get me wrong, you need to make profits in your business.
Yeah.
But people are making profits at the expense of people. And in the long term, the great long-term businesses create long-term places. Growth comes long-term when you put people before profits. And profits is not only money, and I think that happens in countries. People want to get out of what they can get out of it now because they're in a position of power. So what would my message be if I was a politician? My message would be, I can, you know, like him, don't like him, I connect with Donald Trump's message of make America great again. I think if I was a politician in South Africa, I'd be going, make South Africa great. You know, and for me, and there's a reason why, because I believe that we, not only in South Africa, I believe that we live on the most abundant continent on the planet. Yeah. And we have amazing people who have amazing energy. And if we actually really focused on really uplifting those people, not talking about uplifting people, really uplifting people, you know, and I mean, yeah, my comment is probably not politically, my next comment's not going to be probably politically correct.
We don't play that, yeah.
But I look at this, sure, you have whatever views people have on Palestine and Israel and that sort of stuff. But my deal is why are we not creating such a big stink about people living in poverty in Addis? Yeah. People living in squatter camps. Surely, you know, I've always had this philosophy. Fix your own house before you try to tell other people to fix their houses. Yeah. You know, biblically, take the log out of your own eye. Or take the speck of dust, but yes, actually the log out of your own eye before you tell the person to take the log out of their eye. And for me, I think that would be my message is let's get our house in order. Let's focus on our house. Because when you get your house in order, everyone grows. And I don't think that's political. I think you can take that into business. You can take that into life. Anything you're going to do, communities, to make a difference to get your place in order. Your department, if you're in business, get your department in order. Before you complain about what senior management's doing, well, get your department in order, deliver on your deliverables. I don't know if that answers your question. But that would be my message to him.
What a message. You guys know that clip is coming out soonest. Well, Barry, thank you so much for your time and your knowledge. I really enjoyed that. This is a great topic. I know that you get excited for this topic. As I said at Circle, a few of the topics going forward, probably for the next 6 months, I have chosen selfishly because I know that I need to drum them in my head again. And I think that it's very important for everybody to hear these messages and understand the teachings of Barry, Adam, Nicole, and of Uncovering Greatness as a whole. So thank you guys for watching. Really, really appreciate it. If you have any comments, feedback, if you're adding value to you guys, please let me know. Please send us a message, drop us a comment. You can find us on all podcast platforms. Wherever you listen to your podcast, that's where you can catch us. But for those of you who are interested, we do have the Circle of Influence this week. We have Bring Up Buddy. It's going to be a big one. It's going to be a lot of really awesome learnings. So the 7th of March, Corporate Conference Center, 8:30 for 9 o'clock. We'll see you guys there. If we don't, we will see you guys next week on another episode of the Uncovering Greatness.
Before you go off,
yes,
those of you guys, I know this is short notice, but opportunities come at short notice.
Yeah.
8th and 9th of this coming weekend, Friday and Saturday, we have our first sales explosion program of the year. And if you fit into that category of I'm struggling to sell, my team's struggling to sell, and you really want to take your sales to another level, just send us a mail at michaela@uncoveringgreatness.co.za. That's Michaela, Michaela, at uncoveringgreatness.co.za with the word sales explosion and your details. She'll get all of you. We have a couple of seats available. Yep, I guarantee you, I will help you shift how you think about selling, and if you really apply yourself, you will make some money in the room over the 2 days. Thank you, Zoom.
Thank you. We'll see you guys all next week. Stay blessed, stay awesome. Have a great week.